Welcome to season 2 of Quarantine Chronicles. We didn't get canceled as I thought we would. So here we are. To my virtual left, we have Jason.
Hi.
And then we got Angel to my virtual right.
Hey.
So have you guys listened
I have a question.
Yeah.
Something wrong with my hay, Jason?
No, your hay's great. We had a season finale and didn't no?
We're like Robot Chicken. We're always at danger of getting
It's just always, okay.
We're like a Japanese anime where like there's technically never a season finale, but there is different seasons. Like they immediately
that's
start.
Fair. That's fair.
But that's only because their animators are overworked and just like RNHQ overworks us.
I feel like that's a shot fired at me, and I will not apologize.
No, but last episode of Ram Nintendo, Angel said that we were in season 23.
Yes, because we were episode 238.
Right.
We would be in season 24 though. Because the first what is it? The first
Wait, no, because season oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's also worth noting that in the podcast world, seasons are literally just words that mean nothing. A podcast will be like, welcome to season 3, and season 2 is like the day prior.
No. Because think about Serial. Serial has like 3 different seasons.
Right, but there's a lot of podcasts, for example, Zach Braff's Scrubs podcast, where he's like, the season 2 finale, and then the next day he's like, season 3 starts today. And I'm like, what? What's the point of the season at that point? Anyway.
Well, it's been 2 weeks since the season finale of season 1 of Quarantine Chronicles. Usually, good shows get canceled around season 2, so don't be surprised if this no longer shows up on your feed, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Party Down, we showed Elvis Party Down last night. Me and a mutual friend of ours, Matthew. We saw the first 3 episodes. Man, that show's hilarious. Have you guys ever seen Party Down?
I have not, but I've heard very good things, and I feel like you saying we're like Party Down is very high praise. Too high of praise.
Party Down
frankly.
is so funny. It's a great show. Everybody watch Party Down. I'm not going to talk about it on today's episode, but
Adam Scott's in it, right?
You guys should watch it. It's like a catering service.
No, I mean like where can you watch it?
Oh, it's on Hulu, and then on several websites of the illegal variety. But it's definitely on Hulu.
Definitely something to check out.
Yeah, it's just too funny. Wait, your brother said that you guys don't have Hulu.
We
don't have Hulu?
It's on the Apple TV, but that's the only place you can watch it from.
Oh yeah, that guy
has
no. I feel like he never knows how to turn that thing on whenever I'm over.
So how many subscription services do you have on your Apple TV? I'm kind of doing an informal poll. Like I'm curious how many people actually subscribe to, because everyone talks about cord cutting and then they subscribe to like 8 things, which is basically the same price.
I'm subscribed to, or
how many things do you have? Let's say access to, because everyone shares accounts. So let's just say access to.
Okay, so. Just on the Apple TV itself.
This guy's trying to narc us out.
I'm not saying you have to specify which is which. I'm not knocking you out that hard.
Crunchyroll, Funimation, HBO Max, DC Universe, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I think that's it.
Gotta be honest, I lost count.
I don't think we have Disney Plus in there, but that's 7.
7.
You don't have
Ken,
Disney
what about
Plus?
you?
Not on the Apple TV, no.
Well, I don't have an Apple TV. Like, how many subscriptions do I have?
Yeah,
just in general,
or access to, yeah.
Yeah, because that pretty much doubles as all the subscriptions I have access to.
Right.
Where you actually pay money. There's some free ones that cannot be that I do use sometimes.
Yeah.
So in terms of the ones that I pay for, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max. And I guess I'll just count YouTube Premium in there. Yeah. So 5.
what I'm deducing here. Let's see. I have one way or another: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. Oh, I have 4. Weird. CBS All Access. I have 5.
Ew.
My parents have that one. I just mooch off it. Hey, that's where the Console Wars documentary is, which I'll be talking about on the normal podcast, the regular podcast in a week. But yeah, because I was thinking so if they're about $10-15 a streaming service, let's say $10 average, people are still paying like $50-60, which is only like $10 less than some cable packages. So it's just interesting how cable. Basically, in my head, I was just curious because cable. Everyone's talking about cutting the cord with cable, and it's so much more affordable. We're getting to the point where it's literally the same price, which I find kind of interesting.
The thing about doing the like a la carte way with all these subscription services that usually you're not forced into a contract.
This is true.
Like DirecTV, AT&T, they force you into like at least a 2-year contract.
You ain't getting my soul double.
That's a very good point.
I feel like that's where at least I'm more okay with it.
Yeah, and you can kind of subscribe and cancel depending on what shows are on what service at what time, and yeah.
What about other subscriptions? Because I typically only get Spotify whenever they do that 3-month for $9.99 deal, and I guess I forgot.
Do you mean 90? Wait, do you mean 99 cents or $9.99?
$9.99.
Oh, for 3 months. For 3 months.
Yeah, for 3 months. So
because they do a 1 month 99-cent deal too.
No, yeah. Whenever they do either one of those, that's usually when I get on, and I'll have to set a reminder for myself to cancel it so it doesn't renew. But I would say like 90% of the time, I always forget to cancel it, like I did yesterday. Because I just got the notification that I got charged. So I'm like, well, I guess I got another month.
I did that with DC Universe by accident. I was just going to subscribe to watch Harley Quinn, which I did do. And then I forgot to cancel and it renewed, right? Like the day after I finished. And I was like, oh, okay. So
I guess I'm a DC fan now.
I guess I like more than Batman now. Okay. But no, now I've canceled it. But well, now it's all kind of HBO Max anyway, which... Speaking of, they need to figure out how they want to present HBO Max because I have HBO on cable and I still can't get HBO Max. And then like Roku's can't even stream HBO Max, so people who have Roku still can't get HBO Max. Like it's such a mess.
It's weird. Roku's supposed to be like the box, I guess, for all these streaming services. I'm guessing
it has the most streaming services. I'd say the best box is Apple
it's got
TV.
Jive Turkey, dude.
That's a thing.
Jive Turkey, it's like a channel that you
Sounds
can
like
get.
something Napoleon Dynamite says.
More like something that Black Dynamite would say because it's literally just blaxploitation movies.
Dang it! I didn't mean Black Dynamite. I don't know why I said Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, when you said Napoleon Dynamite, like okay.
Well, Kevin. Well, I guess he didn't think I was saying the right thing, but I guess he still got what I meant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's just a channel of like 70s blaxploitation films. Really?
Yeah. Called Jive Turkey.
Cool. Huh. There's
name alone makes me want to get it, but it has a terrible logo. Jive Turkey blaxploitation.
I don't even want to ask what the logo is. I'm afraid there's no way we can present it.
No. It's just really bad. It's like, have you guys seen that
Jason's banner artwork?
No.
Ooh, shots fired.
That graphic design's my passion photo.
Oh yeah, it's like that.
It basically reminds me of that.
That's fine.
Let's see.
Anyway, sorry, I hijacked our intro to talk about streaming, but I feel like we had actual topics this episode.
We still haven't even...
Oh, yeah. The beginning thing.
The what?
What?
The thing you always forget?
This thing...
No, there are timestamps for this episode on the blog post.
It doesn't count when you do it.
Well, then there's no timestamps after all, I guess.
I mean, no, we got derailed because of Jive Turkeys. But you had asked another question about just subscriptions and services, I think, right? One of you guys did.
He did, and was talking about Spotify, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, did you answer the question?
Me? Not yet.
Yeah.
The only other one I have is Apple Music, but it comes with my Verizon plan, so I don't actually pay for it. Which, now that I think about it, is true for my Disney Plus.
Are we talking about services too, or just because there's a couple of services that I...
Yeah, just services.
Like any sort of subscription?
Streaming video, just a service that you're paying monthly.
Photoshop, Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yeah, Adobe Creative Cloud I pay for.
Yeah. Actually, I'm mooching off that one. So did you know, for I think either $10 or $20 a month, you get a PC copy and a Mac copy of the latest Photoshop that will auto-update itself. And if you have a father who likes doing photography and wants the PC one, you could just get the Mac one for free. So I have legal free Photoshop.
I pay for Spotify. Yeah. I do how much? I think like $2 or like $3 a month for a terabyte of cloud data for OneDrive.
Oh yeah, I have iCloud. 200 gigs for $3 a month.
Yeah, I did that one too, just because my backups were getting way too big.
Same.
Yeah, so I have those clouds.
Which actually, when you're done with your list, that leads to an interesting point, but I'll wait till you finish.
No, I think that's it. I can't really think of anything else.
What I was going to say is, what's interesting about that, since we're talking about iCloud now, Apple's doing that Apple One combined subscription, which is actually 3 different things, so it's Apple 3, but you get like different configurations of the various services at a set price. that's cheaper. And I suspect, given how everyone's moving towards services, that it won't be long before bundles are back in a big way. I mean, I already said I'm sort of happy. I pay for Verizon, I get Apple Music, and I get Disney Plus for free. And apparently I get Hulu too now, if I remember correctly. I just need to figure out how to set that up. But like the idea that you're going to have one flat rate and it'll all be bundled together. I mean, Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus already do it. Like I think, and Apple's now doing it. And Amazon obviously does it.
So
with
are
Prime
those
Video.
like permanent?
Like,
Like as long as you're a Verizon subscriber?
As long as you're a Verizon
Disney Plus?
subscriber, yeah. The Disney one was originally a 1-year trial, but now it's extended indefinitely for everyone that has it. So, yeah, so like I think, kind of going back to the whole cable versus streaming thing, I think we're getting to the point where those bundle deals are going to come back, and it's essentially going to be the same as cable, because at that point, those bundle deals, if it comes to Verizon, you're back on some sort of plan or contract. If you're doing it through like, you know, the Disney Plus, Hulu Plus, ESPN Plus thing, it's not contractual. But I think we're going to slowly be drifting back. Time is a flat circle. Everything's old is new again. Like it won't be long before just cable's through the internet, essentially. And you're just paying that way, but you're still on a contract, or you get all these different things, and you know, especially with net neutrality and how they can basically have like pick and choose which services get to have like sped up bandwidth and stuff. It's going to be very. I give it 5 years before we're basically in the same thing we were in 15 years ago.
They'll never get me. Pretty
I mean,
confident.
that's what you say right now.
Yeah, you say that now until they're like, dude, you get all the streaming services.
No,
plus
I
this
mean,
thing you'll never watch.
Angel is pretty stubborn, so I do believe that they'll never get it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
if it ever gets to a point where it's like, where I'll literally think like, I can't deal with this anymore, then I'll just double down on video games and whatever else I do.
But what happens when video games are all subscription services? You got to pay for your Switch Online, you got to pay for your PlayStation Plus, you got to pay for your Xbox, which will soon be in Game Pass.
I mean, that's fine. I'd
But
rather
Xbox Live
pay
is
for your
Game Pass.
Luna.
If I'm going to pick a sword to fall on, I'd rather fall on the video game subscription sword than the movie, shows, and whatever sword.
That's a good
That's
point. Oh, Game Pass. I technically pay for Game Pass.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Are you still at $1, or have they raised it?
No. So I.
It glitched, and it's $1 for life.
Oh man, that'd be the best. No. So what I'm doing is I am just adding more months whenever I see like a code for on special. So like there's constantly.
Oh, you stack them.
Yeah, I just keep stacking them. So like I bought like a couple of days ago 3 months for $30 as opposed to $45. So I just bought that on a whim and just added it. So now I have about a year and a half just stacked where I'm not paying monthly. So
That's very strategic of you.
yeah, I just wait until deals on those come up, and then I'll just buy them. I'll just be like, yeah, why not? Just keep stacking them. Which reminds me, I had to stack up on my PS Plus. Oh, I get PS Plus. Man, I keep forgetting all these services.
Oh yeah, Switch Online.
Oh yeah,
I
Switch
even
Online.
referenced it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Oh,
pay
yeah,
for
PlayStation
that.
Plus. Yeah, literally those two. Even though you said it like twice by then.
yeah. Oh man, subscription services are hell.
It's the worst.
I guess because those are once a year.
But
it's easy to
like I
forget
said,
them,
oh, you pay what I pay monthly. I know it's.
Oh no!
It's a
I'm
worse
not meant for
deal me,
PlayStation
but-
Plus or like for some of those.
Oh.
Because you don't really have a choice. It's like they're all just free. Or...
Like I said, I'd rather go the a la carte way and be able to cancel whenever I want, as opposed to I guess I pay for the gym too. I keep forgetting.
Do you pay for the gym still
Yeah, I don't do that.
in the quarantine?
Well, my gym set up a gym in the parking lot, so they just have like an entire block of the parking lot squared off, plus like a bunch of tents and a bunch of generators outside to power some of the machines. It was a thing, and it was packed at 6 a.m. once. I couldn't believe my eyes.
See, that's a concern to me. Is even if it's outside, I feel like if it's packed, you're still running a risk of some sort. But it's safer. I don't know if it's safe, but it's safer. Yeah, I mean you're here to tell the tale, so clearly you're fine.
Yeah,
but
plus I get Rona tested like once every 2 weeks, anyways, for work. So,
Really? Wow.
So how many times have you had the back of your nose tickled with a swab? At this point?
no, they do the throat one.
Oh, they switch. Didn't
The
they?
one where
at one point do the swab?
they swab your Abdullah oblongata or whatever it's called.
Ah,
Is that what it's called?
Gotcha.
The little
I don't
boxing,
know, but I know
the little
what you're
boxing
talking
bag
about.
in the back of your throat.
I don't.
The
I can't remember
amygdala?
what it's called.
Is that what it's called? It's not
Pretty sure
the
it's the amygdala.
Abdullah oblongata. What am I thinking of? Abdullah oblongata.
Say it's amygdala.
Medulla
Punching bag thing.
oblongata.
Oh,
What
I
is
guess
this?
it's the whole thing.
Oh, it's the brainstem. Never mind.
Oh, well, if they're tickling your
that is way
brainstem,
wrong.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, they just cut a hole in the back of your skull and tickle your brainstem to see if you have coronavirus.
Oh, uvula.
Oh, uvula. There we go. Yeah. I
Not
get
to
my
be confused
uvula
with the Pokemon
swabbed.
region. That sounds very
It
similar.
sucks. It sucks. I don't know if they have to coat the swab in something,
Oh,
but I
geez.
always have this weird aftertaste.
Mm.
And it's the worst.
The
I have to
worst
go, and it's terrible.
Is it worse of an aftertaste than the Switch cartridge if you lick it?
Yes.
That is probably one of the worst aftertastes I've ever had.
Hold on. Let me, because I'm pretty sure I still had Breath of the Wild in my Switch around here.
You're gonna lick a cartridge right now?
Yeah, why not?
Wow.
I
All
can
right.
pop open this
That'll wake
tab.
you up.
That'll wake you up.
Hold on. I don't have nails, so I can't open the tab.
Can't open.
This is
doesn't
the
it look
riveting
like glue?
podcast
Oh, no, this is
content
Ring
that
Fit
you only
Adventure.
get.
I feel
Well,
maybe this is more appropriate for our end, but hold on.
Oh, I hear
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's bad, right? Yeah, I've done it twice on air.
Oh, that's way
I don't-
worse.
Than
Oh,
than the Rona swab.
That's way worse than I remember it being.
So
Well, these are
let's turn
formula.
this into a PSA. For
Why would
everyone.
they?
It's better to go get tested for coronavirus, for COVID-19, than it is to lick a Switch cartridge. So
That's
if you lick the Switch
disgusting.
cartridge, you have no excuse not to get tested. if you
Ugh.
think
It's a
you're at
little
risk.
baby spit it out, essentially.
No,
Yeah, that's exactly.
I know that part, but for Ring Fit Adventure, what baby's gonna be playing that?
Well, it's more like it's not that the
any
baby's
game in
gonna play
general,
it.
like if
Oh,
someone
it's-
irresponsibly leaves their games out where
Yeah.
there's a toddler about.
Oh, that cartridge is gnarly. All right. should we talk about the regular stuff that we talk about in this podcast?
Might as well.
Sure, I
So-
will point out you're gonna have that taste in your mouth for the next hour, so enjoy.
It tastes like the envelope, the sealant. I don't know what it's called.
But like
The glue?
way more intense.
Huh.
Yeah, but way more intense. Yeah.
There's
I feel
a
like,
video.
I feel like I just
somewhere.
licked a wall. That was just nothing but that.
I'm trying to remember which episode, but I lost a bet to Angel back before you were on the show, and there's a video of me licking multiple cartridges back to back. I think 3. Does that sound right, Angel?
Something like that.
I'm gonna figure out which episode it's in, and I'll get back to you guys. But it is that was a thing.
All right.
Jason's favorite time.
Jason's favorite time.
Yep, best
Disgusting.
time I've ever had in life.
Anyways, timestamps are at the bottom for our, if you want to get to our first segment, which we're about to start in a couple of seconds. Among Us. Is that what we're starting with?
I think so.
Actually,
That's something we've all played, right? Or do you want to start with something else, Angel?
I think I want to start with Space Brothers. I just want to finally just get that one out of the way. Not that is one I want to not talk about, but I want to talk about the show for a long time.
Yeah, we have to
And
And
unfortunately
we kept
keep.
saying no, and now finally we're saying yes.
Among Us is also a space. I guess it's mostly a space game. I feel it's associated with, and this is about space, so it's kind of relevant. But yeah,
Real quick, sorry to interrupt. Episode 161 is when I lick multiple cartridges back to back to back. So if anyone wants to watch me do it, that's where you go. Please continue. I apologize.
So, when did I start watching this anime? This was right after watching the one about the Kappa turtles, the one with the really weird anus grabbing thing for desires. Yeah, I think people already know which one.
Yeah.
So, I had heard the name of this anime called Space Brothers a few times, but I didn't really know much of it. I just knew it was an anime about space, because, as we've established by now with the different animes I've talked about, there's basically an anime about everything. Baking bread, cooking, gardening, like everything. I think like they're just coming out with
Anus grabbers.
anime about skateboarding, like coming out pretty soon.
I mean, that already
But
existed in America. It was Rocket Power in the 90s. It was great.
that's about extreme sports in general. This one is specifically about skateboarding.
Okay.
But yeah.
Good point. Get wrecked.
Yeah, seriously. Wow. Okay. One and done. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, there's some episodes where they don't even skateboard at all. They're just like mountain boarding, snowboarding. There you go.
Mountain boarding. Oh, yes, that's a sport.
It is, yeah, just the snowboarding without the snow. It's way more dangerous.
Seriously. Anyway.
Yeah, so this anime in particular is mainly about trying to land a job at NASA. And funnily enough, like before this anime, or before I watched this anime, which is 99 episodes, by the way, I didn't really have much interest in space. Yeah, I mean, I always thought like space exploration sounded cool, but overall, I never really got excited about watching rocket launches or like astronomy or any of that kind of stuff. Like, I thought it was cool, but I didn't really pay any more attention to it than I needed to just to get by school wise. But I think after watching the show, it's like I had like this feeling of like, wow, like I think I get it. I think I get why space is such a big deal to some people. And I think the fact that an anime or a show like got me to change my point of view on space. Like now, um, pretty much right after the show ended, I had remembered that I watched with a couple of our friends the the recent launch from SpaceX, but I didn't recall whether they had already landed back. I just remember that they were coming back soon. Turns out I had missed it, but at that point I actually did want to watch them return back to Earth and re-enter the atmosphere. But I think what really makes me just really love this anime a lot is just that it's a nice change of pace from other, what do we call them? Slice of life. I feel like, and anyone that watches anime will know this, but almost every anime takes place during high school, or it follows like some kind of high school age kid, sometimes younger. It's either, yeah, like high school age or younger, and I feel like the lesser median is like, I don't know, like young adults. But it was really nice just seeing an anime that was about literally like a 30-year-old turn like 30 to 31-year-old, because by the end of the show, he's like age, I think 2 or 3 years. So I guess 33. But I had never seen an anime where someone was like literally basically my age and kind of going through like the same mental states that I was. So that was very different because, even though everyone, has had a childhood, but everyone's high school experience is very different. And I would say most of the time, it's almost nothing like it is in an anime, even if we're talking about the animes that are way more grounded. I guess because most of them are very romance heavy or very, very action heavy. It's like very little middle ground. But because of that and the relationships that this character has with his brother, which, I also have a brother, so specifically towards me, it was very relatable in that sense because it was also about competition. So the main character, Muta, that's his name, he and his brother saw, or they think they saw like an alien spaceship when they were kids, like when they were around like their 10s, 11s. And they made a vow like, oh, we're both going to become astronauts when we grow up. Because they were, they already had an interest in it, but when they saw the spaceship, what they think land on the moon, they thought they saw an alien spaceship land on the moon, so their goal was to try to go there. And we jump like 20 years later, and the younger brother actually did become an astronaut and is set to go on the moon soon. And the older brother is stuck in a job he doesn't really like, and he actually ends up getting fired pretty early on in the show. So he's just kind of rethinking his life choices and how he got to that point. Not that he had a bad job; he was an automobile engineer, but he always just kind of took it as like his like backup safe job because at some point he just kind of lost the motivation to go to the moon or to become an astronaut. He just thought it was too unlikely, and he'd rather take the safer route. And when he loses his job, his brother, essentially through a couple courses of events, he convinces them to, go for it again. And we see the trials and tribulations of trying to become an astronaut and how the NASA life isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. Like, a lot of the show apparently was like very thoroughly researched and needed to be approved by NASA on what was okay for them to exaggerate on or be accurate. Well, for the most part, it sounds like from whatever that they were pretty much fact checking them that everything they said was at least true. And
Huh.
man,
I
like,
didn't know that they were so like consultant heavy on this.
it was. I mean, I don't think it was sponsored, but I mean, they did use NASA's name, so it makes sense. Like, NASA's name is all over the show. And, yeah, it's crazy. Like, you start with, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants that, dwindle down to, like, 30, and then you have a bunch of other tasks that, just keep whittling down the numbers, and each are more stressful than the last, putting you in very different situations from, having to live with four other strangers in an isolated environment for 2 weeks. And while you're doing various other tasks, and there are like, it's almost kind of like a game where one person is assigned like a secret task where they have to say, like, destroy the food supply for like the end of the week, but not like make it obvious that it was them. So then they also have to decide how they're gonna figure out who did it, or whether, some people try to find the culprit, other people decide that it's not important to get riled up over it because, it's supposed to be a simulation. And that wouldn't really help them out in, I don't know, I guess if that were to happen in space. But regardless, even after you become an astronaut, you learn that it's also not like the dream job everyone thinks it is. Like, there are some people that have been astronauts for like 10 or more years and had never even been to space, because, yeah, it just all comes down to who the director wants to pick, and you just may never get picked, or you may get put off into a separate job and just get stuck there. Or even after you go to space, there's like a bunch of other like stressful situations that you might encounter, and when you return, PTSD is a thing, and they might not give you another chance to fly again, even if you recuperate from it. Like, it just touches on so many different issues, and just a lot of like, I mean, especially for me, like, who was in education for, I think, like almost 10 years, almost 10 years. It was like 8 or 9. And at some point, like, I just decided I needed to like quit that job and pursue something in the gaming industry, just because, I don't know, I started to feel like I'm dedicating way too much time there, that I'm at this point I'm wasting it if I'm not actively pursuing a job in education. And a lot of that just kind of hit home with me. But I don't know, just really, really good anime if you just need like a pick me up, something relatable but inspirational. And man, that first intro is really catchy. And sure enough, like, I didn't really know who made this when I first watched it, but at some point down the road, I decided to pay attention to who was actually making it, and I realized it was A1 Studio, which by now I have done a bunch of stuff from them. Like, I've mentioned Anohana, Silver Spoon, Your Lie in April. They did Space Brothers, they did Erase, they did the Ace Attorney cartoon, which, at least the stuff from the 3DS game, because they did the second 3DS game. I think Bones did the first one, and they did Spirit of Justice. So that stuff has been good. I have to give the Ace Attorney anime another shot because it kind of disappointed me initially, but I don't know. I think this might be my favorite studio unintentionally, just because almost every one of their shows I really, really love. In the end, it's a show about the ups and downs of life, pursuing your dreams, and most importantly, just like comparing yourself to others. Because, as a 31-year-old, like, he kind of felt like he was starting a little too late. There were a bunch of younger candidates, but it's kind of a trap that everyone falls into, especially if you're pursuing a creative field where, like me, for instance, like, I'm still learning a lot of, or just improving a lot of basic animation stuff. But then when I look at, like, oh, here's this 21-year-old that is like a freaking master, like, that's obviously gonna depress a lot of people and just kind of might even make you give up, because, it's like, why even bother if there's like people that either got a way better head start, or they're just way ahead of you by now. But your step one, like, you're comparing your like step one to like their step like 300. Like, everyone's situation is different, and you can't really get hung up on that. And the show does a really good job of covering something like that, or covering the topic. But yeah, definitely one of the most relatable shows I've ever seen. Pretty funny too. I mean, it's more of a comedy than anything, but very grounded, and I don't know. I would definitely recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. It's also, I mean, like I said, it's really long, so take your time with it. Only thing that does kind of suck is that it doesn't really have an ending. Like, it ends, but it doesn't wrap up a lot of the bows. But the anime does. I mean, it is adapted from a manga that did have a solid resolution that wrapped up everything. So I'm probably gonna have to hunt those down. I'm just annoyed that they went 99 episodes, and at some point they
99,
arbitrarily
Jesus
said,
Christ.
and at one point they just decided, we're just gonna stop it right here, not just like finish it, because apparently it wasn't even that many more chapters later. But I mean, apparently it was really highly rated in Japan when it came out. It was like, apparently it won a lot of awards and whatnot. But yeah, that's Space Brothers.
I honestly didn't think when you started this, I didn't think you would be talking about its relatability, because it's like about astronaut stuff. Isn't that great when it's something you're watching and it relates not in its topic or its subject, but its themes? Like,
Yeah,
Because
the themes, the
this could
mental
have
space,
easily gone.
the lessons, like it's all very applicable and very relatable.
Yeah, because like easily this could have gone into just like, you know, they're trained to be astronauts. Oh, they didn't succeed at that test. Let's try this and be like super like surface level. But it sounds like it really has like a deeper, simpler, like tale to tell, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be
At
so
least from
great.
how you're
I
describing
just
it.
love that there's like this is so much variety and all these things you can find in it. I don't know. I feel like I haven't really seen that many shows or that many Western shows that specialize on a topic the way some animes do when they specialize on a certain topic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like animes tend to be way more, and I'm using the term kind of loosely, like educational. Like these shows, like they throw a lot of like facts at you. Like I know for a fact, like a Western show would not, for an example, when like one of the characters that would go to NASA and they're getting a tour, like they spend like a lot of time sometimes just going over exactly how something works or like the
Mm-hmm.
history of certain little things, like a lot of details. Like even that one anime I talk a lot about, Yakitaki Japan, the one about baking bread.
Mm-hmm.
Like they go into way more detail than you would expect them to, and sometimes I'm sure they do it also for comedic effect. But like just how much they spend talking about how fermentation works in bread and the types of yeast and how they cross pollinate it to like make the perfect one. Like, yeah,
Well, to your own
it
point,
definitely
like
separates it.
to your own point, when we were talking before about the skateboarding anime, and I was like, Rocket Power, that's the equivalent. You're like, no, that's all extreme sports. And the anime one's like, oh, specifically, here's everything you need to know about skateboarding, and here's how like the axle works, and here's this, like presumably is how that would unfold by comparison based on what you're saying. Like American cartoons are just like, all right, the theme is this, let's go, and that's it.
Yeah, they're more like surface level,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
maybe way more focused on the action of it. But like animes, I guess like I think their goal is like to get you to at least if not become fans of it, just get a deeper understanding of the subject matter so you could appreciate it more. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they I mean they go into so many details of like what it takes to like just get ready to suit up to get into your space suit, what it takes to get out of it, like the different types of oxygen training and all that stuff that by the time like they really build up to like that first moment where they actually go to space that you actually do feel the weight of it, which just makes me appreciate like the people that went up in space recently through space. Like it's like damn, like that's to experience all those G's, all that pressure, all that. I mean, the fact that you may die, like, I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
that they do even touch on that. Like, there's a significant event that happened in the past that affects a lot of characters in the present, where the death of one of the astronauts when they were returning to Earth, whether it was the engineer that his design was rejected because it was taking too long and they went with another one that caused the parachutes not to open. And, like, obviously, a lot of people blame themselves for the death of these, but it's like no one's fault at the end of the day. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I do
so
wonder how much of this, the amount of detail that anime goes into, is driven by how differently we joked about it at the top of the show, but now that I think about it, how differently like the seasons of animes work versus the season, like the Western American concept of a TV season versus like the Japanese concept where a show just goes and goes. Like 99 episodes is par for the course. Dragon Ball Z will take one fight and stretch it out into like a whole
not only
season.
that, but I mean, like, animes are like the masters of like budgeting because like
yeah,
yeah, it's 99 episodes, but intros and outros are like a minute long each.
right.
And this anime has like a 1 minute long recap at the beginning of every single episode. So you're literally getting like 26 maybe minutes or less
But I mean,
of
like, yeah, but
show.
compare that to like
And
a
even
show here
ignoring
in the
like
States.
flashbacks of, anime left to flashback.
But compare that to like a typical show you'd see on TV here in the States. And it's like, the season's 14, it used to be like 21, now it's like, or 24, now it's like 14, 15 episodes long. They're 45 minutes each, and that's it. But in anime, I guess just because of how they do the shows over there, like they can get more in depth because they have theoretically years to work with. Like shows are always like, we have to pack it into 14 episodes and have it be, so it's like very boom, boom, boom here. But like over there, I feel like it's just keep going and going and
Yeah.
going and going. And that allows them to actually explain things more. Because, if you think about how shows here do like sci-fi or space stuff, like it's very, like they'll just throw around terms and just be like, if you don't understand it, it sounds like the characters know what they're talking about, so you'll follow along anyway. But it sounds like what you're saying is the anime like makes a point of being like, well, we have the time, so let's actually explain to you what this means and why it's
Yeah,
significant.
there are a lot of episodes that some people could be like, and not just this anime, but that's kind of all animes, or at least like the longer running ones where
Yeah.
it'll, like progress wise, like nothing happened. Like sometimes it's as much as like a character standing up, but in between all of that, they're just like really diving into like their psyche and like, oh, how did they get to that point? Like just flashbacking like crazy, and by the end of it, they're like, all right, I'm ready. Or like even recently, like I know my brother's watching an anime called Hunter x Hunter, and he will occasionally watch it on the TV. Usually, he'll watch it on his computer, but whenever a big fight scene is coming up, he'll want to watch it on the TV or through the Apple TV. And I remember I saw him like setting it up, and then he started watching it, and I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, this feels like it's like gonna be like the big fight, like the where all the budget's going into." And I leave and come back, and I still see no fighting. And then the next day, he's still watching it, and it's like, yeah, he said that like apparently like they somehow squeezed out like another 3 episodes of talking and exposition before they actually even started fighting, even though it seemed
Dragon
like
Ball Z?
they were literally about
Yeah,
to
it's like
start
Dragon
fighting
Ball
at that
Z, like I
moment.
was saying.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's there's something. It must be just a cultural thing because there's definitely like even if you think about like some of the popular genres of games in Japan, like JRPGs are long compared to like a lot of like the more Western centric genres. Like it's definitely there's definitely like they're more patient people, I guess,
Yeah.
which allows them to go more in depth, which is has its pros and cons for sure. It sounds like in the case of Space Bros though, it's all pros.
Definitely caught me by surprise, and definitely makes me love watching animes like this. But for now, I'm just gonna be rewatching Attack on Titan until season 4 premieres on December 7th, I believe.
Shonen anime, yeah, baby. That reminds me, I gotta get back into God of High School.
How's that going? You enjoyed it? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I saw the
Thumbs
first 3
sideways?
episodes, and then I started to rewatch Bleach. That was a mistake. Yeah, I started rewatching Bleach because next year I think is the 20th anniversary of Bleach, which is like insane to me because Jesus Christ, it's been 20 years since Bleach came out.
We're old now.
But they're adapting the final Bleach arc from the manga that never got adapted into an anime. So I was like, oh, I'll just rewatch Bleach.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that comes out next year. I'll probably, if we're still doing this podcast, if we're still stuck in this hellscape of quarantine, probably be talking about that.
It's crazy. When I think of like old shonen anime, for some reason, like only Dragon Ball Z comes to mind. Like that feels like, oh, like that's like the older one. And in my head, for whatever reason, it's like, oh, One Piece, Bleach, Naruto are like newer or like new. And they are definitely not as old as Dragon Ball, but by now, like they've been out for so long, they're practically like old classics. Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Naruto ended. One Piece is still going, but
I mean, technically Naruto's still going with Boruto.
oh, yeah, but I feel like with the as drastic of a name change, I mean, it's clearly like a spinoff.
Drastic.
I mean,
they changed like 2 letters.
Oh, I was using that term very loosely. I can't believe they couldn't come up with a more unique name than Boruto. But yeah, I mean, even the character looks almost identical to Naruto.
Yeah.
Fun fact though, apparently because obviously it came out as a manga first, when they gave the model sheet of Boruto to the animators and colorists, they didn't know that Boruto was supposed to have pale white eyes like the Neji clan, the Hyugas. But they just assumed he wasn't supposed to have them, so they just gave him the blue eyes, and they ended up just sticking with it. So I'm like, oh, he could have looked way more distinct.
Well, I'm sure that's going to plays into, doesn't he have the,
Oh, he does.
the
I guess he was just
Byakugan?
supposed to. Oh, yeah. I guess he was just supposed to have the white eyes.
No, Byakugan is...
Yeah, you're right.
Wait, which one's
Byakugan.
Byakugan?
The one that he has, Boruto.
Which is the one that Sasuke has?
Sharingan.
Oh, Sharingan. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he has a Byakugan.
I was watching. I was like reading up on Naruto because I am interested into like.
Apparently, it's really dark. Or at least darker compared to Naruto. I'm curious, but it's just too much. You know, time is valuable, and we're not on this earth very long.
Naruto doesn't really get that dark.
That's a
It gets
callback.
more epic, but yeah, I've heard that Boruto does get dark.
I think my biggest problem with Naruto, like, I mean, I guess I would still say that I really like Naruto overall. Even though I didn't finish the anime, I saw most of it, and just caught up with what happened or how it ended. Maybe one day I'll finish it, but I think like what I definitely didn't like it as much by the end of it than I did in the beginning, just because at one point it felt like it just turned into Dragon Ball Z. Like
Hmm.
everything just felt like everything was this power level, and it just started getting way too like every fight just boiled down to, oh, this guy's about to lose, bam, second phase mode. Then he's winning. Oh, now the other guy's into his second phase mode, and they just keep one upping each other until one person loses. And I felt like
Right.
before they would win their fights by outsmarting or doing some other kind of, not really having to level up, just finding some other way to kill them creatively outside of just reaching a higher power level. But that's kind of a lot of anime in general.
All right. Well, I guess we should move on from anime talk and anime about space into Among Us, since technically that is a space game, as
Ooh,
you mentioned
smooth.
earlier.
Smooth.
Not as smooth as your transitions, but
It might take years of practice. Been doing this thing for 9 years.
Yeah, Jason's very sus.
all right. So we've all played Among Us around here.
Yes, we have.
I don't think I can explain the game as well as either of you can.
Angel, do you want to take a crack at it, or do you want me to try?
Well, I guess I could try. So, Among Us is a game that came out about 2 years ago. It falls under the category of like trader games. So trader as in like someone that backstabs, not to trade for goods. So games like Secret Hitler, Avalon, Werewolf at Midnight, everyone is essentially clueless to what everyone else has as their role. But as far as everyone is concerned, you're trying to play yourself off as a crew member. So you're trying to pass yourself off as someone that's doing tasks around the spaceship, trying to repair it. And once everyone completes their repairs, then the game is over and the crew wins. But in the midst of that, there are some imposters and they have fake tasks. So they're just pretending to be doing work around the spaceship, but in reality, they're going around killing people in real time. They approach a character. If they feel it's the right moment, they can press a button to kill them. And then they have to immediately just try to integrate back into the main group so that no one otherwise suspects them, because during the time that you're supposed to be doing these, I guess, chores, everyone's supposed to be quiet. And it's only when someone reports a body or calls an emergency meeting that everyone gets to start discussing. And then that's when people go, oh, we're with the body. Wait a minute. I didn't see this person. They were with me the whole time. Accusations fly around. Sometimes you might even get caught straight up and someone will call an emergency meeting and be like, I straight up saw this person kill this person. But then kind of rarely, depends on how good the people are at lying. Sometimes they could even turn it around and be like, actually, no, it was him. And then maybe because of the way they said it, people might turn on the person that brought it up and side with the bad person, even if they don't know. But that's generally the type of game it is. And I don't know, it's really fun. Just a nice spin on that, on the Secret Hitler formula.
What I find so interesting is, one, it is basically a spin on the tabletop ones that have existed for so long. Like this isn't, like there's even word games like this, like Mafia. Like, I remember back when I was a kid, like at summer camp, we played Mafia or something. It's just, you just kind of talk things through, and then it became tabletop games. And like, for those who haven't played Secret Hitler or Avalon, similar premise. Secret Hitler, you have a party of liberals, party of fascists. Avalon, you have basically good and bad magic, and you have to identify who is either in Secret Hitler passing policies.
Very timely.
Yes, very timely. But yeah, you're passing who's passing policies that are detrimental to the country or not, and in Avalon is who's basically going on quests and casting spells and whatnot that are detrimental to the land or not. But yeah, so those kind of had a moment, right, for a few years, and they're still around. I mean, our group has probably played them for like 2 or 3 years now, and they obviously existed before we got a hold of them. And now it just seems like the next evolution of this genre that started literally as a thing you just imagine and talk through into a thing that had like a tabletop element into now a digital form,
Man,
which
I
is
would
kind of
really love to
interesting.
see this in from like a first person perspective or third person or something like that.
Yeah,
I feel
that'd
like
be
it'd
really cool.
interesting.
But
Like
yeah,
Among Us, like in 3D.
that'd be kind of
just
cool. Like
an
if they
Among
did
Us
like
style
Dead
game,
Space.
but in first person or third person, because I feel like that would like just change it way more. Because in Among Us you have like a top down view of the map as you're running around. Everyone is pretty small, but I mean if it's in first person, sneaking around becomes way more integral, which could be very
There
interesting.
there is a game that is kind of like that. That's free to play on Steam called Deceit.
Oh.
Which nicely leads me to the second thing I wanted to say about Among Us, which is it's so crazy. Andrew said at the start, it's been out for like 2 years, and it only just blew up now, to the point that like the developers basically were like, oh, well, that one didn't take off as much as we could. Let's try and make a sequel and see if we can add some stuff to get it more popular. And then it blew up, and now they're canceling the sequel and taking the stuff from the sequel and kind of updating it in the original game instead, because they had this huge groundswell. And what's crazy to me is, you know, there are other games like this, like you mentioned, Deceit, but it was like streamer culture that blew this thing up out of nowhere. Like a game can now live or die based on if the right person happens to play it or find it on their Twitch or on their YouTube or on their Facebook gaming or whatever, and Mixer, RIP, and you know, if they just happen to be the right person, they can literally make or break a game, which is insane if you think about it from how like gaming culture used to be. And there are like tastemakers in like Electronic Gaming Monthly and GamePro and like G4 as a channel and all that, and now it's just like, you know, these random dudes who just stream can literally turn a developer into a millionaire. It's really crazy if you think about it.
The streamer that popularized it, I think, was Soda Poppin'. I'm very ingrained into the Twitch, I guess, culture, into the Twitch scene. So Soda Poppin' popularized it, and then I'm pretty sure after that it was like XQC, which XQC is probably the biggest streamer on Twitch right now.
Really?
But
yeah. Isn't Ninja back on Twitch, or has he lost some momentum? He
is, but he's definitely lost momentum. So has Shroud. Shroud's back on there, but he's also lost momentum to like XQC. XQC is definitely the biggest.
Shroud was
streamer at the moment.
Shroud was poached by Mixer as well, wasn't he originally?
Yeah, he was poached by Mixer. Then, like you said, rest in peace, Mixer. So he came over. But
that whole
it's crazy to see. Also, like, there's so much drama that comes with Among Us, and especially XQC.
Really?
I don't know if you know who XQC is.
What sort of drama?
Yeah, what kind of drama?
Oh man, I can get into this.
Let's get into hot goss. What's the drama here?
What could people possibly drama with Among Us?
Do you know who XQC is?
I know the name in
Jason?
passing, but I don't know much about the person.
So he's a French Canadian Twitch streamer. He was a main tank for the Overwatch League for the Dallas team, the Dallas Fuel, and he's just a very outspoken, controversial figure. Like he's very anti-politically correct. I mean, it's not like he's a full blown, I guess, like right winger, but he does have some chud like takes, and he also has some really, really good takes. But he is, and you know, these on Twitch, you have like at least 8 streamers in these lobbies,
right?
Usually a minimum. And just like XQC, if he's the imposter and he gets caught, he will call the person who caught him like just trash. And I don't know if he means it or not. but yeah, he'll be like, "No, you're a trash player, you're a trash streamer." And that's
so
just the way
she just
he
goes
is.
after them personally because they saw through his deceit in the name of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very impossible to tell if he actually means it or not.
Right.
But yeah, like last week on this popular subreddit, Livestream Fails, was nothing but XQC being toxic. And then like XQC will do something incredibly toxic, like he says it was an accident, but it was clearly done on purpose. When he gets killed, he'll be like, "Oh, it was green," and he'll put it in like the all chat so that everybody can hear that. But nobody calls him out on it.
So he's sabotaging the game?
Yeah. And
because
of course there's two sides of it where like, oh, that was an accident. Other people are like, no, that was clearly done on purpose. I don't know. There's a lot of drama surrounding Among Us. It was at its peak definitely last week. It seems to have died down though.
I'm sure for the developer, like this sort of PR is perfect. Like people are fighting over their
absolutely.
game. But it does suck because like the thing about all these games, and like when we played it a week ago. A group of us, was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Angel, your birthday shindig.
Who knows?
But when we played it, like it was interesting because we had like your family and like your quarantine bubble were there in person, and then all of us, the rest of us, were there on like a Zoom. And what's interesting is like these games are so based on people being like communicating and actually being like buying into the premise essentially that like even in the Zoom, like because you guys had like your in-person conversations and then we had the Zoom conversations, and there's even a little disconnect there that made it hard to play. So I can't imagine someone that's just like, I'm not going to adhere to the very simple rules of don't reveal who it is, play along. Like that just undermines the entire game. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for the developer though. I think it's consisted of like only a couple of guys.
Yeah. Oh, it's great for the developer. Yeah.
And Among Us, like it just like knocked Fall Guys off of its pedestal.
Pun intended.
For sure.
Pun intended.
What happened?
Pun intended there.
Damn it. Yeah.
Or not pun, but reference, I guess. I really want Fall Guys to come to Switch. I want both of these to come to Switch. I feel like obviously you can play them on other things. Among Us is on every platform. Like it's on mobile for free. It's on Steam. It's everywhere. But I feel like a system like Switch that's so multiplayer oriented, both those games would do really well on there. It and Fall Guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember them saying that they wanted to port it to PS4 and Xbox, and that still hasn't even come out. So, I mean,
yeah,
we'll see.
We'll
see if that ever comes to Switch.
But yeah, it's a cool game just because it is. It's funny because it is very much cut from the same cloth as something like Animal Crossing in terms of like the perfect quarantine game where it's about you and your friends taking what would be a normal experience like hanging out, or in this case a game like Mafia or Secret Hitler, and just just making it work when you can't be physically there, like when it's virtual. The downside, or not the downside, but the kind of funny part is Animal Crossing was all happy, like touchy-feely, like, oh, we're all in this together, let's just hang out. And this one's like, I hate you now, I'm going to stab you in the back. So it is kind of funny how quarantine's jaded all of us, I guess. But yeah, conceptually, like both those games are on the same spectrum of ways to create what used to be physical virtually, which is also kind of cool.
Yeah. Quick little Among Us topic right there.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be our last topic. I don't know. Should I just read it out how it is like that on the notes?
I'm sighing because I already know what if you read it out what it says, and I don't like it. just read it as is. Read it as is.
Conan is the worst talk show host. Prove me wrong.
That was written by one Angel.
I would say that because
that was Angel. Conan's my fave.
Yeah,
that was
I thought
Angel.
It was a little weird.
It was Angel. Now I don't know how
Are
we
you
go about
prepared
proving
to say
this
that he is the best one?
I believe so. I'm a huge Conan O'Brien fan.
No, this was just a general title for the topic. I personally don't believe this, but I'm sure some people do.
What a cop out. Make an inflammatory statement and go, oh, it's not me talking. It's just on behalf of anonymous people.
Yeah, it's just something I'm sure someone said at some point. I've never really been huge on talk shows in general, or talk shows in general. Like, they always felt like way too late to get news from. Not like their time that they aired, just more like by the time they talk about it, like, I feel like the news has already have come and gone, that it's kind of like, oh, you're ready to get into it now. Maybe that's just more of internet culture, just making at least that aspect of talk shows hosts obsolete. But at the end of the day, I guess you're going to them more just to hear their personal takes on it. At least that's what I imagine, since I don't really watch so many. The only one that, for whatever reason, caught my attention was Conan's show.
Okay, hold on.
Mainly because...
Pause. For whatever reason, I dragged you to 5 tapings over the years. It's not like it just magically materialized. I sort of forced you into it, so you're welcome.
It was just, it was super random. I think I just noticed that his theme, I guess, for his show is orange, and I like orange.
So it wasn't. It wasn't
came from
5. Wait, I take it back. It wasn't 6 tapings. It wasn't Clueless Gamer segments, which literally cater to you as a demographic. It wasn't any of that. It was just you saw orange on his logo.
Orange got. It was come for the orange and then stay for everything else. Because I guess over time I learned that I just I guess with just by chance, since I just happened to be at his as a few of his tapings. I'm not really sure how it just happened to be there.
Yeah,
At a few of his
weird,
tapings, right? Whether it was at the studio or in Comic-Con. I guess I just started getting exposed a lot more to him and like seeing his travel shows, seeing his regular shows, seeing
Against
his
your own
segments.
will.
I mean, to be
Essentially,
fair,
yeah.
I did not put a
That-
gun to Angel's head.
I mean, maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome, maybe it's something else,
Stockholm Syndrome.
but after all this time, I think I've just come to appreciate, I guess, like his brand of humor. Because even though, as I've said many times already at this point, I don't really watch any like talk show and a lot of talk shows. If anything, at most I'll watch maybe a few clips if I'm curious about something that they're talking about on the internet. But of all the talk shows, I feel like, at least from what I've noticed, Conan's deliveries feel like the most genuine half the time. He feels kind of like a weird in between, like a well-behaved, good, like responsible talk show host, and it's almost like he bridges the gap between like those that like kind of cause chaos and something like Eric Andre, where he's like on the other end of the spectrum, where he's just literally doing what he wants. Like Conan feels like Andre still wanted to do his own thing, but followed every single regulation for it to be to be like
it's
censored again. So it's like so I
Andre
get
through
that
the
sense
lens
of
of network
chaos
TV.
so I get that sense of chaos from Conan, but yeah, I think you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Well, 'cause
the most. He feels the loosest of all the other talk show hosts, I guess.
You know what it is. You know why they're sort of kindred spirits, even though Conan's way toned down, is because, again, he started on network TV, is because both of them kind of approached late night shows as they're not doing a traditional late night show. They're parodying and undermining the traditions of late night shows in different ways. But at the end of the day, both of them are doing a thing where it's not so much, you know, oh, here's a late night show, I'm going to be the host, I'm going to be like a Fallon type where I just like interview a guest or whatever, but both of them on some level are trying to subvert the idea of what society decides is this weird hour-long thing you do, or half hour in Andre's case, that you do where you just interview a guest and you make a few jokes up top. Like half of Conan's monologues, he is aware of dumb jokes and he will comment on how dumb the jokes are as he's telling them, but it's just kind of like, so, like, you know, when they go out into the street, like, because Eric Andre and him both do the stuff where they go interact with real people. And obviously Eric Andre tries to get as weird and crazy and as absurd as he can. And Conan goes out there and basically, like, if you look at something like when Leno was still on, he did that jaywalking bit where he'd be like sidewalking interviews, and it's kind of like, oh, let's show how dumb people are. Conan flips that and goes, no, we're not laughing at other people. Let's just laugh at me, the host, being in his own words, the jackass that it's just causing problems. So like he says stupid things. It makes the people feel weird because he's the one being dumb. So it's kind of like they're just flipping the format on its head in different ways, essentially, which is probably why you see that parallel. That's my dissertation. I'm done now.
Yeah, and also just like I haven't really noticed other, I guess, shows like bringing their, I guess they're not really cast, but I guess like
Their
some
crew.
other workers their other like workers like into the mix, like. The fact that, like, I know the name off the top of my head, like, Sona and Jordan Schlansky.
That's his assistant,
or Aaron
his
Blay.
producer, his digital content guy. I'm just defining them.
Is Blair still on?
He is.
Is
He's
he
been with
still
Conan for like 17 years. He's been with him since the late night show, and yeah, he's still there. Clueless Gamer, which was, you know, how he really became kind of more of a household name among some folks, that I feel like took a weird turn because they started integrating celebrities. Because I think the game companies wanted more oomph when they gave him the games. And Conan and his crew probably saw an opportunity to get more views by including, you know, random celebrity. Like, does Will Arnett need to play ARMS with Conan? No. Was there a connection between Will Arnett and ARMS? No, but somehow he was still there.
Bill Hader was on the God of War episode.
Yeah, like there are some weird ones. And it was definitely because they saw an opportunity to like turn this into its own thing, to the point that Clueless Gamer was at one point going to be a spin-off show that Blay was going to host. And it was going to be on TBS. I think it ended up kind of dying out in development.
Yeah,
but,
obviously it's not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it may still happen. Who knows? But yeah, I think so. Blay's still there, but he's not really in the spotlight as much because Clueless Gamer took that weird turn, and everyone's like, "Why are there so many celebrities?" And it kind of petered out. But he's definitely still there. He's been there forever. He runs basically their digital content stuff, like the website.
And if it isn't obvious, like you could tell, like Jason like lusts for Conan, like really bad.
So bad. No,
sexually,
just in every way.
Yeah, like I just even remember like after like watching a Conan taping, I'm like, all right, let's get going. And so like, I can't stand up right now. I need to wait.
Okay, definitely that did not happen. But
I need to soak it in as much as I can.
No, but I am.
Security's like, sir, can you He's like, hold on, just like a minute. Just let me. He closes his eyes, takes in a deep breath.
I close my eyes and just
I'm almost
slowly.
finished.
I was about to say, just mumble to myself. Like, Conan.
And there we go.
No, but I don't know what it is. I am somewhat obsessed.
Why you?
I don't
Like,
exactly know. So
Conan? I mean, I kind of described why I guess I ended up favoring him, but
so I think for me it kind of goes back to the subverting the genre a bit thing. Like, so he always was kind of like weird left brain kind of absurdist stuff, or like kind of like parody stuff. I really like parody and I like meta stuff, as you guys know. I mean, like shows like Community I really like, which are very meta. SNL, which is a lot of parody. Lonely Island, I love their stuff because it's a lot of parodying like music trends and whatnot. And Conan is basically the late night version of that. So I used to watch various late night shows with my parents, like Leno and whatnot. Never really Letterman, actually. I guess just Leno. But Conan was always kind of like if I was still awake, I'd watch Conan when he did late night. But then when the Tonight Show started, I was like, okay, you know what? This is the moment that like Conan's gonna make it big. I'm gonna watch every single Tonight Show. And then all the brouhaha happened with, you know, him and Leno and the drama back in 2010 or whatever. And then as like the whole Team Coco idea built, as people were defending him and whatnot, I think I just like tripled down because like I liked him, but I wasn't up late enough to really watch him. Then I decided I'm gonna start watching him. Then right within that year of starting to like really dedicate myself to watching him versus just catching it when I'm awake or catching clips, then like the society like got behind him and I'm like, oh, this is like, and I think that somehow like internalized it for me as like I really want to support Conan because like I liked him. He's getting screwed. It's now this like moment. So I bought tickets to see his tour, the Conan O'Brien what was it called? Legally Prohibited from Being Funny on Television tour. Like the thing he did right after he lost the Tonight Show. And when I saw him live, it was just such a really good show. It was like 2 hours long. It had special guests. He did music. He did comedy. He did bits. They had pre-recorded stuff.
At that moment.
And it was, I was about to say.
Oh, well.
Fell in love
And never looked back. No, but it was like seeing that and being like, man, he's really multi-talented. Like I knew him as a talk show host. I knew him as a guy I watched the late night clips of sometimes. But seeing him on tour, I was just like, whoa, he's really good at a lot of things, and that just kind of solidified it. And then I just started following him even closer and becoming more and more, you know, of a fan. And I, for a while there, would watch, once he started the TBS show, I watched every single one. If I missed one, I would DVR it. And I did that for a few years. But the thing is, you know, like any show that's a daily format, there's only so much stuff. So the bits started to get a little repetitive, which is true of any late night show. And I started to kind of switch over to watching YouTube clips, but I'd still do like the highlight stuff. Like I'd still go to see him at Comic-Con. I'd still watch the travel shows because I think the thing besides him being kind of left brain and weird and sort of subverting expectations of what a late night show should be is his remote segments, as he calls them, when he actually is out in the field with just a camera crew, just doing whatever, where he's, as I was saying before, is acting like a jackass in his own words. Like
the remotes are the best part.
Yeah, those are great. And he's what I learned over basically from watching him on late night to watching him on the Tonight Show to watching him on the tour, especially when the Tonight Show started devolving into chaos because he basically was like, I'm losing the show, I'm just gonna do what I want. The less he's scripted, the better. He is really good at improv. He's really good at thinking on his feet. He's funniest when he's not trying to stay to a script. And that's what I think that's what, seeing him live, like the tour, it was obviously, you know, they had a set list, they had planned stuff, but he was definitely riffing and going off script and stuff. And that, plus the last few weeks of the Tonight Show really solidified to me, yeah, this guy's really, really good. Like I really like that sort of thing he does. And yeah, so now I make sure to catch every travel show. Haven't missed any of those. Been to multiple tapings for the laugh track for those where he does like a Q&A after. And yeah, like the more he goes into the kind of tangent of not scripted stuff and into like kind of the weird, I'm just gonna do what I want stuff, the more and more it like resonates with me for whatever reason. So there's your very long-winded answer of why I like Conan.
Wow, that is long-winded.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because on the internet, on the spectrum, like the only other talk show host that I feel like gets shoved in a lot of people's faces is Jimmy Fallon. And mainly because since we follow the Nintendo stuff, like he tends to come up once in a while because I think like, Reggie visits his show. I don't think Reggie's ever visited Conan.
Reggie hasn't, but Conan has interviewed Miyamoto. Yeah.
And Martinet, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, like he could be genuinely that excited about some things, but it never felt genuine, which is probably, I think Jimmy Fallon is the case where it feels like the least genuine. which is kind of unfortunate because it probably is the most. But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of where
Fallon's interesting to me because like I feel like he is genuine in his excitement, but he doesn't know how to genuinely express the excitement, if that makes sense. Because his whole show, like if you look at sorry, I'm gonna go super like late night, like I love following all this stuff. His whole show is a different concept of what a late night show is than what late night was for the past 20 or 30 years. Like his show is what like Carson used to do in the 80s and earlier, and what like, you know, the host before that. He does a variety show where he's the not ringleader, like the ringmaster. Like he'll do games with celebrities. He'll do like skits. He'll do in characters. He has recurring characters. Like it's basically SNL with him as the host every day, which is what late night was for a long time. Like I said, especially Johnny Carson. He had multiple characters. He had multiple bits. Johnny Carson used to be like an hour and a half long show, just like SNL, and then was scaled back to an hour, which then became the regular format. And you know, even the way that it went from the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, to the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon was kind of a throwback to the variety show days. And I think he does the variety show thing because his whole thing, his whole shtick, is he wants everyone to have a good time. Like that's literally his motto. Like everyone just needs to have a good time. We're going to play games. We're going to have fun. There's going to be music. I'm going to do characters. Everyone watching is going to have a good time. The people that are here are going to have a good time. And I think in his head, and I don't think he conveys it properly, but I think in his head, he's really psyched to have these people on that want to have a good time with him, even though they're maybe there to promote something or whatever. But when he tries to express it, he falls back on what sounds like super fake laughter, over complimentary comments like, oh, you're the best. You know, someone will be like, let's just pick a random person, like John Cena's on or something. John Cena maybe has some funny.
Steve Buscemi.
Okay, Steve Buscemi, whatever. Someone's on, and you know, maybe they make a funny comment, and he won't just laugh. He'll like slap his knee and go, "You're the best. You're the funniest. Oh my god, you're so funny." And then he'll like repeat back the final line they said. And I think he's trying to do it because I think he I don't quite do that ever, but I think he's genuinely trying to make sure the guest is having a good time because the whole concept of his show is to have a good time, quote unquote, and for everyone to enjoy themselves. While like other shows are more about like, I'm going to interview this person, get to know them, or like I'm going to give a take on the news. Like if you look at like Late Night with Seth Meyers, he has Closer Look, which is all about like what's going on in like politics. And you know, Colbert does the same thing with his monologue, and they still do interviews, but they'll bring on guests like authors, and they'll bring on guests like political pundits.
Popular, it seems like, and then it seems like people haven't really liked his show, or maybe that was Colbert, early on.
He had a weak start because he was in the age of Fallon's variety show. So Fallon's variety show, in my mind, I'm going real deep with this. Fallon's variety show, in my mind, worked perfect in the previous era of America, which was, frankly, the Obama presidency, when everything had this perception generally in culture of being kind of rosy and good, and we're on the up and up and everything's going great. Obviously, some people within that felt otherwise. That's how we have the current president, but generally in pop culture, the vibe was positive and uplifting and whatnot. So a variety show of goofy, silly things without cynicism, which is another thing Fallon doesn't like, cynicism, made sense and resonated, and that's why all his bits went viral. And when Colbert started, he's a political comedian. He does stuff based on current events. Hard to do that when everything's, you know, golden feeling. Flip it when we have our current president, and you know, the kind of tone of the country sort of shifted, and there's a lot more worry and concern and that sort of thing. And suddenly all the commentary about like how everything's going wrong. So the Colberts, the Samantha Bees, the Seth Meyers, and John Olivers of the world, they are now the thing people want to hear, because they're the ones that are pointing out everything wrong in society and how dumb it is, and how, yes, we see that this is stupid. You're not alone. Join us and we'll mock it together. That sort of rose up in prominence because it was sort of like therapeutic for people, right? So Colbert is now ahead of Fallon. But up until that switch, up until we had, you know, Trump come into power, essentially, Fallon was above Colbert. And then within, I think, a year of Trump, it completely flipped. And Kimmel's somewhere in the middle there, because he's sarcastic and started being sarcastic in a way that wasn't political, but then over the last 4 years, had become more and more political. So he's always been kind of in the middle, Kimmel, of the ratings.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's...
Just in general of like, likability.
What was that?
I thought you were just talking about, like,
Oh no, I meant like
terms of,
ratings
like,
and
voting.
stuff. Like the shows like saw a notable flip. Like Fallon was number one for the first however long that Colbert was on when he took over Letterman, and then within like probably sometime in 2017 it completely reversed. Fallon
Isn't
still
Jimmy
has
Fallon one of the most disliked SNL players? That's what they call him, right?
I mean, a lot of people do like him. His show does
I would
still
believe
have high
that.
ratings, but there is definitely like there is that thing I think of how genuine is he, and he is not good at putting on a genuine front, even when I think he's trying to be. Like I honestly don't believe that he constantly is faking his excitement for things. He seems excited.
Oh, I thought you were pausing between words for.
No.
point
I was
or
just
something.
thinking of the word I wanted to use. I don't think he's faking it. I think he just doesn't know how to express it in a genuine way. If that makes sense. Because even like,
Is that all he's ever done? Like, how did he even get started? Like, who
Well,
accidentally
he's
left the door open and just never told him to leave?
so if you really want, all right. So here we go. The Tonight Show used to be produced by I don't know who, and it was here in
Why
LA.
do you know this?
Right? I told you I follow this stuff. I like late night. I'm a nerd of this stuff. Anyway, it used to be produced out here in LA when Leno did it. They moved it when Conan did. It was out here in LA too, right? That didn't go so well. So what they ended up doing is they gave the reins of the Tonight Show to Lorne Michaels of SNL. He has been the producer of Late Night, the follow-up show, since I want to say maybe Letterman, at least since Conan. Lorne Michaels handpicked Conan to host Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was a writer on SNL, had no TV experience, and Lorne Michaels like, I think this guy's going to be a good fit. And here we are 27 years later. He also handpicked Fallon. So the way Fallon got to where he's at is he was on SNL. He did his thing. He left SNL. He tried to do a movie career. That didn't really work. He did a couple comedy albums. That did okay, I guess. And then Lorne Michaels, for whatever reason, was like, he would be a good guy to take over Late Night from Conan O'Brien when he moves to The Tonight Show. So NBC said, all right, you're right about Conan. Conan's moving to The Tonight Show, so why don't you just keep producing Late Night and you can have Fallon. So they brought in Fallon. Everyone's like, huh, that's kind of weird. And then Fallon started to pick up momentum because he did the whole variety show thing, which was different at the time from everyone else. Like right now, there's Fallon that does it, and there's also James Corden that does it. And Corden is kind of following the trail of that Fallon left. But Fallon at the time was the only one doing the variety show thing, and it really worked. So then in all the kerfuffle with Conan and Leno, the aftermath of that, Fallon ended up taking over The Tonight Show because it worked so well for Late Night. So he kind of just like fell into it because Lorne Michaels was just like, yeah, that guy. But he was on SNL, this kind of weird, like he was both the most hated and the most liked because a lot of people liked how much, didn't like, but became a running gag of how much he breaks on the show. Like he could not hold it together. In the same way that like Stefan with Bill Hader was popular because of how much he broke. Fallon's thing was he would constantly break, and then he had this sort of like he was like, oh, you know, to a lot of people, oh, it's a cute guy in SNL. Like a lot of women liked him, and a lot of people just sort of like it's the face of SNL. It's very much parallel, but not as dark to what's going on with Pete Davidson and his rise right now. In terms of like it's just this like person on SNL who's like somehow bigger than just being an actor on the show. So I think that's kind of how Fallon got to the point where Lorne Michaels thought maybe he'd be worth doing. But then again, Conan never got to that point, and Lorne Michaels still plucked him out of obscurity and made him what he is today. So it's weird how this all sort of comes about. But yeah, that's kind of the backstory.
It was weird. Yeah.
It is weird. Yeah.
It is weird. Yeah.
I think we just found our episode title.
Yeah, I think so. I was just gonna ask Kevin, do you watch? Because I now know Angel watches Conan through me indirectly. I watch Conan and all of them on some level. Are there any you watch, or do you just like avoid the format? Eric Andre can count if you want to count him.
Space Ghost, Coast to Coast is the best.
Good answer.
It's the best talk show.
See that's again
Oh man,
similar
I
to
interview with
Max
Bethesda. That was awkward.
That's another cut from the same cloth as Conan and Eric Andre. It was something that was designed to like kind of undermine what the format would be. It was animated. It had a talking praying mantis, like it, you know. So there's actually something on Disney Plus right now that Jim Henson Company produced that also I think it's called Ned.
Elmo, doesn't he have a talk show host?
No, so Elmo has an HBO Max late night show, Sesame Street late night show. Yeah, which isn't late night, but it's mirroring. It actually looks a lot like the Tonight Show, like the set and everything. But no, there's one on Disney Plus. It's like a weird, it's produced by Jim Henson Company, and it's about an alien named Ned who comes to Earth and decides instead of like taking over Earth, he's just going to interview the famous people and see why they're famous or something like that. and it's like a puppet. So they're in a set with a puppet, like a full size, like Jim Henson style, puppet. And the puppet has a sidekick, and it's like a full on late night show, but set on the spaceship of this puppet who decided not to invade Earth because he was fascinated with our culture or something. It's very Space Ghosty, but I haven't actually watched it, but I think all of it's up on Disney Plus now. It's called like Ned from Space or Ned Comes to Earth or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need Space Ghost 2.0, that's probably the closest you'll get.
Space Ghost. I hope that they bring Space Ghost back with HBO Max.
That'd be great. I feel like they came really close to it because they had Harvey Birdman and had all the Hanna-Barbera crossovers in that. Like, it's not that much more of a leap to just do Space Ghost.
Yeah. And
given the staple of Warner Media company properties that now all together, they could like bring in Looney Tunes. They could do Scooby Doo. Like, there's a lot. It's huge potential.
It definitely is.
Yeah. No, but I watched the Conan remote, so there's a new one, which there hasn't been in a while.
For obvious reasons.
I'm pretty like, I subscribed to the Team Coco channel for a while, and when he switched to the 30-minute format, I feel like we saw less of those remotes online.
Yeah, so it's interesting because TBS isn't, a ratings powerhouse. So what they started to do, well, his ratings went down because like no one's watching from NBC to TBS. But what they started to notice is people were resonating with his online content, the remotes. They're resonating with Clueless Gamer. They're resonating with the travel shows. His podcast is huge. It's now a whole network of podcasts. So the show isn't even like the end all be all now. So the way they're doing it is the 30-minute Conan show is basically. It's still a nightly show, but they have on their YouTube longer interviews. They have on their YouTube longer bits. They do stuff on the show that primes the pump for the podcast. Like they'll have, the other day they had Michelle Obama on. 3 days later, they're like, surprise, we have a new podcast with Michelle Obama too. And it's all like this sort of weird, synergetic, multifaceted, multimedia thing. So the show itself is probably ending up with fewer remotes because it's not so much about the little simple remotes now. It's like, oh, well, one branch of Conan and Team Coco is the travel shows. So they're probably diverting a lot of that money and effort to making those, which of course can't happen right now. But yeah, there is a pivot for sure where they're not doing quite as much of the typical remotes because, they could go to, I don't know, Uzbekistan instead or something. So
right. So Conan, I definitely watch whenever I can. He is the only one that I'll never watch a Jimmy Fallon clip on YouTube. I'll never watch a James Corden one. I'll never watch a Colbert one. I'll watch a Kimmel one every now and then. Because I do like Jimmy Kimmel.
What are your thoughts on him getting more, like, because he used to be kind of just snark, but what are your thoughts on him getting more, like, political now? Like, he's actually, like, using his platform to, like, talk about things opposed to just make wisecracks about things. As someone that follows him, does that, like, or not follows him, but, watches from time to time, have you found yourself less engaged? Like, do you prefer the not political? Because Conan's not political at all.
Conan's definitely not political. No, I do like Jimmy Kimmel using his platform to advocate for stuff like, I think it was his son was born, and he, teared up because it was like, my son was born under these circumstances, and the only reason that he was able to make it was because of, like, the incredible healthcare that I have. And, like, it broke his heart that there are people that don't have that healthcare. And it's like, I don't believe that celebrities with a huge platform have to advocate for their beliefs. I'm kind of weird like that, where I'm super leftist, but sometimes I have, like, these libertarian views like that. But yeah, I do like the fact that he is using his platform, which is cool, considering the different pathways that him and Adam Carolla took, where
seriously
they were both on the Man Show. Well, how long would an episode of the Man Show go? Like 30 minutes or was
like
it
22 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah, just like how degenerate both of them were.
Yeah.
And now Jimmy Kimmel is this advocate for rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Adam Carolla just
podcast
sucks. Yeah, so it was interesting to look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, yeah, that's all I really watch. I mean, Eric Andre's his own thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him and Zach Galifianakis doing his Between Two Ferns.
Between
Two Ferns. See, that's another kind of cut from the same cloth as Andre and Conan and Space Ghost. Like, there's definitely, it's gotten to the point where that sort of subgenre of talk show is almost as big as the main one now. There's like three. It's my last thought. I promise. It's interesting to see how they've all tried to like make their own path so they distinguish from one another. Like if you look at like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, they're trying to be the 60 Minutes of late night talk shows. Or not even talk shows, but like late night shows. Like they do these in-depth analysis of like deeper issues. They got The Daily Show, which is like the nightly news version. Then you've got Colbert or even like Seth Meyers, A Closer Look, which I really like, which are more like the talking heads that you see like during a CNN interview, but the comedy equivalent. Then you've got, Sam B, who I guess is kind of more like John Oliver. So she kind of falls under the like news magazine thing. Then you've got like the collective of variety shows of Corden and Fallon. And then you've got this like just all these people are just like, this format's ridiculous. Let's poke fun at it, which is basically everyone else. But there's definitely like separate buckets now where they all used to compete directly with one another, but they all kind of found their own lane or at least found buckets to fall into. Probably because there's just too many shows now.
Yeah, there's too much content out there nowadays to consume.
I think that's the theme of all our Quarantine Chronicles. There's just too much. Just too much.
There's just too much. There's too much TV shows to watch, too much music to listen to, too many video games to play. I think last night Elvis said something along the lines of like...
Yeah, time is finite.
Yeah.
What did he say along the lines of?
Elvis said something, he was like... I think Elvis said something along the lines of like, "Oh, this game is on sale. I can't. I already have 14 games on the backlog." I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, so too much content.
Too much content.
But that's why we try to pick at that content with this podcast. So unless anyone else has anything else to say, I think that
I feel like ending on too much content is fitting. You just spent an hour and a half with us telling you about too much content. And that hour and a half you can't use on other content.
Yeah, exactly. So we will be back next week with a new episode of Random Nintendo, which I'm sure we're going to talk about Minecraft Steve.
Yep, and Mario 35.
What else are we going to Mario 35.
Which is super. I played it for like 2.5 hours last night, speaking of time. It's really fun.
I was debating bringing up Hades in this episode, which I've been playing
Might as well.
some of.
Why'd you stop?
But the thing is, what happened?
Why'd you stop?
Because that game is also on Switch, but I don't want to play it on Switch until cross-save has been implemented, which I think the devs, Supergiant, did say it was supposed to come out in October.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be this month.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm even going to talk about Hades on this next episode of Random Nintendo, but that also gives me way more time to play the game, and
likewise,
so I'm having a great time with it.
More motivation for people to keep tuning into our shows because Hades will show up eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to tune in to find out.
I'm dangling this carrot in front of all you listeners. But yeah, I guess that'll do it for this episode. We are Random Nintendo on Twitter. Jason is JSR7. Angel is Weiro _O WEIRO _O.
I love how you started doing the intonation I've been doing. It's funny.
I am Kevin Gomi. You could listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher. I totally forgot everything else.
Our YouTube is Random Nintendo.
Our YouTube is Random.
You got everything else. That was the only thing you forgot.
No, like iHeartRadio. We're on there.
Yeah, that's one you added, and I started to include as well. So, thanks, Clear Channel Media, now called iHeartMedia.
Oh man. Okay. And I guess that does it for the. There's some podcasts that I listen to that like the first couple of minutes they call it something. It's not like table dressing. What is it? Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Housekeeping. So I think that's all the housekeeping for this. And we will let you go with some final words from Jason.
I was not prepared to do this.
You have to stop doing that.
Jesus, Jason.